Slight break in service there. I think Mike had to run outside and fight some Vikings or something. I don't know. You know what I mean?
That would be exciting.
But I think we were talking about the people that you surround yourself with, and I actually came up with a question. Um, Man, when you first get on team and you're actually surrounded by those folks, those highly capable individuals, and you're like doing your job, like what is that feeling like?
Well, for me, at least when I got to RRC, I'd already been a ranger, so I was already in a special operations unit working alongside like Delta Force and SEAL Team 6 and stuff like that. And then went through this year plus long pipeline and all with everything, included. And it was very intimidating, like at least for me, going in as the new guy, because here I am as an E7, right? You're been in the military for a while, but I'm the brand new dude on the team as an E7, a senior E7. And I walked in, at least for my team, I was lucky, man. The dudes were just like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" Like, just welcomed me right in. Like you said, normal guys, man. People don't realize that the dudes are normal guys. Even the most elite tier one operators they're just still normal guys. And walked in, they just welcomed me right in, and they give you this rope, and then you put it around your neck, and like you got all this rope to hang yourself with, and they just keep feeding it out. You know what I mean? And hopefully you never hang yourself. But yeah, that's the way it was for me. I was received in very well, and then I just wanted to make sure that I performed flawlessly because I did not want to be the weakest link coming right in.
Dude, how do you get yourself into that mindset? Like you're already a ranger, you've already been there for a while. You're an E7. So if folks are out there aren't tracking, like that's a good position to be in. Like that is not an easy thing to do. But how do you put yourself in that mindset to go for another selection where things could go terribly wrong, and you might have to come back and like tell the guys that you're working with right now that like, yep, didn't work out, and now I'm back here. Like that risk, that willingness to put yourself out there like that, I think is fairly unusual.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people, I guess, don't realize that. But as an E7, a lot of people, actually, the significant majority of people probably retire at that rank in the military. So, but yeah, it's hard, man, because you're putting your career on the line on a test in front of everybody to see. And if you don't make it, and that's the thing, it's very unique about the Ranger Regiment. So in the Ranger Regiment, if you go to Delta Force selection, you go up there and you make it or you don't make it. Either way, if you don't make it, they'll receive you back and be like, "Hey man, it's hard stuff." RRC selection, the unit I was in, their selection is based off of Delta Force selection. The OTC pipeline's longer than Delta Force's, but twice as long. So, but you go there and you don't come back, they want to kick you out of the Ranger Regiment. How dare you couldn't make it into another unit within our own unit? They look at it
Jeez.
like that. So yeah, that's why a lot of dudes don't go to RRC selection. Instead, they'll go to Delta Force selection because
Because it's easier. You heard it here first, folks. I'm just kidding.
well, I can't say that.
Just
There are
kidding.
guys that have been through both that have said like, ours is a little bit longer as far, but I don't think so. I think it's about the same. It's a similar curriculum. Their cadre may be more intense, who knows? But yeah, it's a hard thing to do because if you're a ranger and you go there and you don't make it, you're literally like a black sheep. So it is a hard thing to do, and it's like we were talking about, that fear of failure holds a lot of guys back because you could go there and I don't care how good you are, you could fail and not make it. We were literally, me and Ryan were actually talking, and for you guys that don't know, Ryan is the owner of Titan Performance, and we were talking earlier today, and he met a guy who was a RRC, says he was an RRC guy, right? And I was like, link me up with this dude. He was like, this guy's having issues and drug problems and all on drugs and stuff like that, but the dude's a physical beast, right? And I was like, really? I was like, link me up with this dude. Maybe I can help him out a little bit. He finally sent, he never could link me up with a guy. I guess the guy dropped off the net. He sent me a picture of the dude today. The dude went through selection and OTC with me, but he never made it.
Wow.
He got dropped about a quarter of the way through the pipeline. And like I said, this dude was one of the most physically fit human beings I've ever met in my entire life. He's probably, how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
He was probably a little bit shorter than you, and a smaller dude, thin. I'm talking probably 125, 135 pounds, and he shows up for the PT test. Now he came from the regular army, from a regular army unit. Showed up for the PT test, and he smoked me on the 2 miler. He smoked me on the 5 miler. I'm like, whatever. The dude's little, you know what I mean? Let's throw a ruck on his back, and I'm gonna crush this fool.
Always.
He beat me though. Like that's one of the few people that ever beat me. This little bitty dude just ran the entire 12-mile ruck march in the mountains. Like, and it wasn't on flat ground, so it was like on flat ground, I'd do a 12 miler. My best time was an hour and 47 minutes for a 12-mile ruck with
Jeez.
65 pounds, and I ran the whole thing. This dude in the mountains, I think he was just over 2 hours, which is fast for up there. And he beat me by like almost 20 minutes. I think I was around 2 hours and 20 minutes, or 2 hours and 18 minutes or something like that. But here's the thing, the fear of failure, dude. That guy was an absolute machine. And he passed selection, made it through the pipeline about 3 or 4 months in and got dropped. And the only reason he got dropped was because of a DUI. He went out and partied one night. I warned him about it. I was like, as a young single ranger, the number one thing that'll get you in trouble is alcohol and women. So, and he didn't listen to me. But what I was getting at there is the fear of failure. I don't even care how physically fit you are. That place is very challenging. But not only that, you have to be physically fit, but you have to perform in every other aspect too, on and off work. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, well, there's all the expectations, right? Like you're a representative of us now. Even if you're in selection, like when we have our selections, and they're not the same, but it's like everybody knows who you guys are. Everybody knows. If you mess up, that's a reflection on us, and we're not going to take kindly to it, and we're gonna you gone, you know. So, dude, but like that idea that you would go there is still pretty wild. You know what I mean? Like and you could get hurt or injured, and that there's things beyond your control. Like, how did you make that decision? Like, Mike, I'm trying to figure it out. Like, you had it
Well,
made, bro.
yeah, well, see, yeah, I don't know. Like the grass is always greener on the other side too. I think that's kind of what leads. You're like looking over that fence, like, hey, what's up? That grass looks better over there. And that's what I think makes dudes go from Ranger Battalion to Delta Force. That's what makes dudes go from Ranger Battalion to RRC. And for that, like I was in the Ranger Battalion, I was doing cool things. I was working with elite dudes all the time, but there was just that itch to just do something a little bit better. Just something. And not to say that it was better. I can't say that. Excuse me for saying that. But something that I guess pushed me to that next level. So I
Yeah.
think you have to want to just achieve the next level and the next level and the next level. And eventually you top out. And in the military, as far as I know, like the tier 1 units are as far as you can go. I mean, there's elite organizations within those. But that's where it's at. And I just wanted to do better. I wanted to stay more and perform more at a higher level.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I mean. When people ask me how I got to where I was, I tell them it was an accident and I fell into it, which is kind of true. But like, I joined the regular Air Force and I was like, I can do more. Like, and if you just have to have that mentality, like I wasn't trying to do anything like crazy. Like I wasn't, like I didn't join the Air Force thinking I was going to jump out of planes or get into gunfights or anything like that. I was joining the Air Force for crying out loud. But like when you see that opportunity, right, and you have that itch and you have that feeling, and I think we were talking about this a little bit earlier, man, if you have it, you got to go for it. And consequences are going to be what they're going to be. Either, amazing success or terrible failure, but you're going to learn something either way. But man, do you want to end up on your deathbed with that itch still being there and that regret for never even trying? I think that's what drives a lot of us.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And how did you? So tell us a little bit about your exposure. Like, when did you go from like the Air Force over? Like, did you do a standard Air Force job and then go over to a soft unit?
Yeah, so I joined as one job, but I was not like I didn't have like I wasn't a good person or whatever in my earlier life. Anyway, I joined as a linguist. I got to basic training. They're like, you can't be a linguist. I'm not going to be a TS. So they gave me 5 options, and one of them was weather. And I was like, yeah, like, and I think they sold me on it because the ASVAB requirement was like the highest out of all of them, and because I'm a narcissist, I was like, well, of course I qualify for that one because I'm a smart dude. But that's how they get you, right? Like, and so I go to weather school, and I'm like, this is kind of cool. It's not what I wanted, but like, I'd already been like humbled by having to call back home and be like, I'm not going to do the job that I thought I was going to do, right? Like, there was a series of like humbling moments which I required to get to where I got. It was really fate or whatever. Anyway, so I ended up in weather, and then we were halfway through weather school. Back then, you had to become a weather guy first. And the guy that you're friends with had to go through this as well. And then you go to a regular weather unit, and then you have to assess from there after you're a qualified weather guy to get over to the soft side. But the assessments were like, they weren't what they are now, and it wasn't all like very organized. But that's what I did. And it's just one of those things. Like, these guys showed up at the schoolhouse, And I'm doing fine in weather school, and I could have been a weather guy, and it's not something that I hate. But this dude shows up, and he's got a gray beret on, and his uniform is perfect. And you know what I mean? Like, and they start talking about jumping out of planes. And I'd noticed since I joined the Air Force, like pre-Air Force, I would never have thought that like I was going to do anything more, right? Like I'm not, you know me. I'm like I'm not that fast. I'm not that strong. I'm a little guy. I played a lot of soccer growing up, so I could run. But like you start doing PT with everybody, you're like, man, maybe I am. I could do more, you know? And then you're in your tech training, like we were in weather school, and I'm like, I'm still doing PT. I'm still pretty motivated. I feel like I got some more to give. I start hearing about this other thing. This guy comes and gives us this briefing. He's like, you want to jump out of planes and get close to the fight? And it's like, I just felt that, you know, like when you feel it, when it's like, yes, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, if there's only one thing I'm good at in this life, it's saying yes to things that I don't fully understand what I'm saying yes to.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up on this podcast, by the way. So I was just like, yeah, this seems like the right thing to do. This seems like something I should do that I might have the capability for, especially if I train for it. So that's what happened. I went to my first duty station, and then you had to wait to become qualified, and then you do your PT tests and you assess and all this other stuff, and you get your assignment. You need to go through airborne and survival and all that other crap, and showed up at Fort Bragg and still had no idea what I was getting myself into. But like that's why I say like I just kind of fell into it. But it's like I did, but also I'd laid the groundwork by. I mean, I was pretty physically fit, and I volunteered, and I said yes. And once I decided that I wanted to do that thing, that's what I was going to do, no matter what. I told everybody I was going to do it once. I didn't feel like I needed to talk about it incessantly. In fact, when I was at my regular weather unit, one of the guys came up to me, or somebody told me, they're like, "You're not going to go do that still, are you?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, guys, in the middle of my shift, I'm going out there and running miles and miles and miles.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing that for funsies. Like, I don't actually like running all that much. But I'm just not talking about it every single day. Like I'm just going to do it. There's no reason to talk about it anymore. But that's my story.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that how important weather is. It affects every aspect of an operation. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can only infill under certain light conditions. Well, especially in soft, right? We can infill in different light conditions and different weather conditions, but there's ideal weather and light conditions, and then there's not so ideal, especially when you're using helicopters. You can't have stuff, a lot of lightning, jumping, military free fall, canopies. We can fly through clouds and stuff like that. It's not ideal because you could come out of a cloud beyond your point and not even land where you need to because you're not going to steer inside of a cloud. But all that stuff's important. Knowing weather and how weather and atmospherics affect bullet flight is critical for long range shooting. So snipers have to be just a minor micrometeorologist. If you're doing free fall, military free fall, you literally need to know the weather. Like I understand the weather and how it flows just by naturally having to learn it and to fly canopies. I mean, I know like I can go stand outside and be like, oh, that wind's about 18 knots because I know what the limit is and I know what it feels like and I know what the trees look like when the wind's blowing about 18 knots. I know what different types of clouds there are and the levels they are because I'm used to jumping through the cloud cover and stuff like that. So weather is very important. A lot of people underestimate that, but I think I mean, even doing the reconnaissance stuff that we did, that was one of the things that we had to do. We had to report weather of the drop zone, like, because we would jump in and do reconnaissance on an airfield that Ranger Battalion would then seize. And a lot of people don't understand that the Ranger battalions are basically the way we call it. It's like the United States skeleton key to any country. It's the forcible entry option. Like nobody can get into a country that the Ranger Regiment can't get into. So forcible entry in, but dudes like me were free falling in, laying in there, reporting the weather conditions, reporting the enemy activities for the Rangers that come in and land, and weather was a piece of that. And that's how I first worked with weather guys. We had weather guys that they would assign to us for certain training aspects for a while, and they would go out with us. And so weather's very important.
It's a weird thing. I never would have guessed that it was a job before I joined the Air Force, but it's crazy. Jumping through the clouds is always fun too. Because there's always that one jump master that's like, "Yeah, I see the DZ through that tiny hole in the clouds." You're like, "Do you though? Do you? Are you sure that's what it is?" And you're just like, "I'm out of the plane now, so like whatever. I'll figure it out once I get below the clouds." But
there was always those dudes, man. I never did that. Like I don't think I've ever released anybody on a bad spot. I was very meticulous with that, but there was some dudes, like I know this one dude, I'm not going to say his name, who were like, oh, that dude's up there. Like, you better be ready to get in your rear risers and try to float it out to get back to the drop zone because we're probably going to be long.
Yep. Yeah, it's And then the winds, you're like, you can go outside and be like, yeah, I'm going backwards in my canopy on this one. There's always those guys too, like the guys that are like on the drop zone, like telling you the weather before you're about to jump for a training jump, and you know they're holding the Kestrel like right next to their chest. They're like, yeah, winds are 5 knots. You're like, bro, they're not 5 knots. We're gonna be all over the place.
Bro, a real life story. We'll tell us another story real quick. So here I was, jumped in, recce'd Moody Air Force Base. So down in South Georgia, Moody Air Force Base, we're out there. We're on the drop zone. We have no weather guy with us. We're just doing our own weather. And we're calling this up. It was like 18, 20 something knots of wind, storming like crazy. And Ranger Battalion's getting ready to jump. 3rd Ranger Battalion's going to jump in. No, or I think it might have been 1st Ranger Battalion was jumping in. And we called it up. We were like, abort, abort, abort. Do not jump. Weather is bad. But it wasn't us on the ground holding the Kestrel close by. We were giving legit weather reports. And but the commander, it was the officers. The commander's like, the heck with it. We're jumping anyway. They push it a lot of times. Because I think the wind limit for what static line is, 13 knots?
I think so.
Because free fall is 18 knots. But you got a ram air canopy that you can land into the wind with. So I think it was like 13 knots. And we were well over 18 to 20 knots. Bro, these dudes jumped in, destroyed fools, man. Like dudes were permanently injured and chaptered out of the military from that jump. Yep. So I know a dude that landed face first on the tarmac like this, knocked him out, and the canopy drug him and rubbed his nose off his face.
Yeah,
on the concrete, dude.
If you can't pop your risers, like you're just getting dragged. That's awful.
Knocked him out, and he got drugged on his face along the pavement, knocked out like that, and it literally burned a portion of his nose off on the concrete.
Yeah, if you've never been dragged by a parachute, like that's one of those things in life that you just need to experience. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So, but I think one of my big things though, like getting back to kind of what we were talking about, Mike, is man, if you're a dude out there and you don't know where to start, when you're looking at yourself, you need to like start doing some research and find that thing, right? Like, because you had that thing, like you joined the Army for like these very idealistic reasons. Like you thought you were going to go take the fight to the enemy. You eventually found out how you were going to do that. It took a while to get there, but man, like you gotta find that thing and you gotta stick with it. And don't like it's always hard too. Like it's one of those things where it's like either don't tell the people that are going to be your naysayers, or don't listen to the people that are and the hard part is a lot of it that's like negative feedback that you're going to get is going to come from a good place from people, based on either ignorance or they want you to maintain your safety. But no matter what it is, no matter what you're trying to chase, that you feel deep in here, like when you have that itch, like you just got to go and you got to kind of just put your blinders on and ignore all the chatter.
Yeah, man. You do, man, because there's always going to be people that don't see. I mean, nobody can see deep down inside of you. They don't know how much grit and how much courage and how much perseverance you have. So yeah, it does make it even more challenging going to something like that, bailing out of your, especially like you talked about, like for me as an E7, bailing out of your comfort zone that late in life, because it could result, like doing really bad in RRC selection could have resulted in me being kicked out of the Ranger Regiment, So there's been dudes that have gone and then something bad happens or something pops up or they get hurt or whatever, and then they're gone. They're out of the regiment. You just left the job that you were enjoying, that you were doing good at, that you were excelling and way up here at, and then now you went to try something new and now you're out.
Yeah, dude. And you were doing all kinds of crazy stuff too, on the regiment side, and then to go up to RRC is pretty wild. But like I think that's what it is. Like you had that thing, you had that idea that you had that capability, that you had more to give, that you could, give in a different way. And also, like, I think being curious in a lot of ways or collecting skill sets. Like, I loved being on team because there's like a never-ending list of schools and possibilities and educational opportunities. Like, and a lot of these schools, by the way, suck to go to. But man, there's a never-ending list of new things that you can get yourself into that provides extra capability for your team or your unit. That like it's never ending. Like you can be gone all the time and you can be challenging yourself every single day.
Dude, that's so true. And I do think that was one of the appeals. I didn't even think about that until you brought it up. But yeah, but there's a drawback to that, especially in my old unit and in RRC. If you go to a course, like if you go to Pathfinder or something like that, you're expected to be the highest academic graduate and the highest physical graduate. If you're not, you may not be in good standing when you get back to the unit. That's the way it was for us, man. Like when I went to ANOC, which was the Advanced Non-Commissioned Officer course, E7 course for the Army, I went to it right before RRC selection. I was like, I gotta smoke this. So I was one of the on the commandant's list, like the academic list up there, and had the highest PT score in the class. And then I went on to RRC. But yeah, once you get to RRC, it's just course after course after course, free fall, shooting, explosive, homemade explosive, breaching, like no, long range shooting, driving courses, surveillance detection, counter surveillance, all these cool guy things. And you're right, and SEER schools and crazy SEER schools and all that stuff. And that stuff, like you said, is not necessarily fun. It's a suck fest, but while you're in it, it sucks, but it makes you tougher. It adds to your perseverance, your endurance, your integrity, your character as well. But those things, just being able to experience those courses, a lot of those courses are courses that most people in the military never even get to go to. And there's just an open book for us in SOF. Like, all these capabilities are good for us to have, and you get to go to all those. And I think that is one of the draws as well.
Yeah, and it's funny to talk about like the standards for the regular Army side too, right? Like it's one of those things like, man, you're a representative of something. And I think if you're listening to that and you're like, man, that's really cool for Mike, but it's like, you got to think about too, like if you're a cubicle dweller or whatever it is, wherever you are in life, if you're a teenager listening to this, like you got to think about what you represent. Like going back, I think one of my driving forces too is it's not before the unit, before I cared about the Air Force, before I cared about anything. I remember the first time I put on my uniform, and it's the U.S. Air Force and my last name. And like I had never felt such like a connection or a sense of debt or a burden of legacy for my family name more than I had at that moment. And then you get to build on that, right? Like then you get to that your next unit, or you go to other places, you start building your reputation, you're representing your units wherever you go, and that expectation for excellence, personal and in whatever unit you're coming from, it's gonna follow you, and you can't really just like turn it off. Like you just got to keep grinding away at that.
Yeah, dude, that's another interesting point that you point out. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, it was the same for me. First time, right after I got out of basic training, to wear that uniform with your name, and it's not just your name and the Army's name or Air Force name. It's just the uniform. People know that you're in the Army now. Like, you're legit. And then you get on down, you get that little maroon beret for airborne school, and then like you throw that away and get that little tan beret for the Ranger Regiment. And that was super cool. And then it's like stacking badges and stacking badges and stacking badges, and everybody knows that you've done all these different things. And then it's even different. Then once you get to the more elite side of it, then you're taking the uniform off and you're growing your hair out and you're not looking military. So I think it even refines it even to a more, your esprit de corps is in your actions and not your outer appearance at that point. And that was one of the things that was hard for us in the reconnaissance company, because we're around the Ranger Battalion guys, and for the most part, dudes in Ranger Battalion wearing uniforms and have military style haircuts. So a lot of the guys that are in the line Ranger Battalions of the higher ranks despised us because we were always wearing civilian clothes. And I mean, there was dudes literally with hair as long as mine while in at times, and beards down to here and stuff like that. A lot of guys despised that. They thought we were hoodlums and brigands, and we couldn't represent the Ranger Regiment good. So we had to perform at an even higher level because every eye was scrutinizing us. Because we weren't in the uniform now, but now our outward, just our actions, I guess, supported it.
Yeah, there's strings attached to every every good thing that you have in the military. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you get to run around not in uniform sometimes. You get to deploy and grow your hair out. You get to do all these other things, but like, man, it all comes back. Like the expectations are high, and you better be backing that up with performance. And the uniform thing too. I didn't, you made me think about like later on in my career. It's like if you have to put on like my dress uniform, or even just like wearing a regular uniform with badges and all that other stuff. Like if I'm like leaving my little area of guys that I'm with, and I'm going out on regular basis or in the civilian world for a second, or other places, it's like, man, like all this means something to them, and I better represent all of this in my unit. Like it just, that level of responsibility and what you're supposed to represent just grows throughout time, and you just have to embrace it. But I think it has to start with something that you value, that you care about, that you can be like, this is going to push me, and I'm going to be the best representative of either myself or my family or whatever it is that it takes to get you, off your butt that first day into the gym and start becoming the person that you can be.
Yeah, man. And that's the key, man. The tougher we are on ourselves, the better we analyze ourselves and try to improve ourselves mentally and physically and everything about us. That's what sets us up for success for not only just joining the military and being prepared, but excelling through all these different levels of elite units.
Yeah. Yeah, and it can be it's hard sometimes, guys, and just like everything else in life, right? And the thing is, it's going to be scary, but I'll tell you, at the end of the road, like I obviously didn't do all the things that Mike did, but getting to retire and getting to look back at all that stuff, and then like ending up on a podcast like this, it's funny. I was thinking about the other day, dude. I started doing this with you, and I hadn't like really read your bio, which is hilarious. Like I was like, Mike from RRC, yeah, like I'll do a podcast with him. And then you sent me that stuff for like the some of the stuff that we're gonna put out, and I actually read your bio. I was like, oh damn, like but he's a normal guy. You know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things. But like there's that you want to get to that place in life where I'll tell you where I'm at in life for perspective. The place where I am, it's the amount of gratitude that you're going to have if you push yourself and you really embrace your capability and your potential. Like you're going to come to a place where one day you look around, hopefully, and I look at all my friends, I look at the things that I get to do, I look at all the things that I was able to do, and the amount of gratitude that I have and the thankfulness, right? And the humility that comes along with that is almost overwhelming at times. Like I get to sit on here with a podcast with someone like Mike Edwards, and Mike's not going to tell you how awesome he is all the time, but like I'll tell you, like that's where you want to be in life. That's where you want to go, and it all starts with that first step.
Dude, you're exactly right, and it's an honor for me to be able to hang out with you and all the other guys that we work with. There's so many good dudes out there, like my buddy Russ that's here. We had him on the podcast not too long ago. Just super top-notch guys. All of us have a specialty that we're better at than each other, and we can learn so much from each other. But you're right. I mean, we wouldn't be hanging around these types of guys if we hadn't done what we did. You know what I mean? In the military.
Yeah, but sometimes it's hard to just be like, like I think that's one of the team things though too is like I haven't made it yet. I got to keep working hard so I can hang out with I don't want my friends to leave me because it's all based on performance, which is like a good thing, right? Because like for the rest of our lives we're gonna be like a little bit competitive and we're gonna be chasing each other. And like I know my friends when they call up, they're like, "What's up, bro? What are you doing?" And it's like if I can't start the conversation with like, "Man, I went to the gym this morning and like these are all the things that I'm getting after, and I'm not just sitting around on the couch and enjoying retirement." If I don't have all those things to say, like all the projects that we're involved in, right? Like there's going to be a little bit of judgment, and those are the friends you need to find and cultivate.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's people that are going to keep you accountable.
Yeah. So we started this with toxic masculinity. I think the way to get rid of that weakness is to find something to fight for, right? Like I think the human condition is to fight. I think if you look at all the people that are yelling about toxic masculinity, what that is a misplaced need to fight against something, because we live in an overly comfortable society where everybody's number one fear is public speaking, which is ridiculous if you think about it. That's what the society that we live in. Our fear is standing in front of people and talking and not being blown to smithereens or being shot or any of that other stuff that comes along with it. But like there's nothing wrong with improving your capability. Like if you're going to be a man, be a man. Get out there and build your capability. Get after it. Don't make excuses for yourself. Be critical of yourself to a healthy degree. And the rewards on the other end are going to be almost limitless.
Yeah, you're right about that. The sky's the limit, man.
Yeah.
As long as you're willing to push yourself and continue to improve every day.
And maybe go on a podcast and talking to the internet with the opportunity to make a real fool of yourself, which is what I try to do all the time. So, like we said in the beginning, head over to titanperformance.com. Hit us up with your comments, things that you want us to talk about. We're going to start getting more guests on here. It can be hard when you talk about people from the places where Mike used to work. Getting people on camera can be a little bit difficult at times. But any of the subjects that we want to talk about, anything based on performance, being a man, being family, American, you name it, hit us up. We'll cover it. And we will catch you all next time. Appreciate it, Mike.
Later.